Prison Break is full of people doing terrible things to survive. Guards, criminals, politicians, assassins. Almost nobody in the show has completely clean hands. But there's a big difference between someone doing what they have to do and someone who genuinely, completely deserved what was coming for them. Some of these deaths were satisfying, some were long overdue, and one of them, we're saving it for last, had the audience on their feet the moment the switch was thrown. So today, we're counting down every person in Prison Break who truly deserved to die. Let's get into it. The General. The General. The man at the top of everything. For 4 seasons, the company operated as an invisible hand, shaping elections, ordering assassinations, toppling governments, and destroying individual lives with the casual indifference of an institution that had long since stopped believing any external authority applied to it. And at the center of all of it, pulling every string, signing off on every order, was one man. The General didn't get his hands dirty, he didn't need to. He had entire layers of infrastructure between himself and consequences. Wyatt's and Kim's and Kellerman's to absorb the exposure while he remained untouchable, legitimate, permanent. He had Lincoln's father killed. He had Sarah's father killed. He orchestrated the framing of Lincoln Burrows from the very beginning.
Before we started.
Shoulda, huh?
It's not that big a deal. We can fix it in the morning.
Manufacturing a death row conviction for a man he needed out of the way, then spending years and enormous resources making sure that conviction held. Every broken thing in Michael Scofield's life traced back, directly or indirectly, to decisions this man made from behind a desk, in a room no one could find. What made the General genuinely chilling was his complete sincerity. He wasn't sadistic, he didn't enjoy the suffering, he simply didn't register it. He believed in the company the way other men believe in nations or religions. He thought the work justified everything beneath it. That certainty made him more dangerous than any of his operatives because you couldn't appeal to self-interest or fear. He had already decided. The electric chair got him in the end. William Kim. Agent Kim is the kind of villain that makes your skin crawl precisely because he looks so normal. He operates inside the legitimate infrastructure of the United States government, official channels, authorized resources, institutional authority.
One down, one to go.
I need to talk to Mr. Scofield.
And weaponizes all of it in service of the company's agenda. Throughout Season 2, Kim is the man pulling the strings. He ordered the murder of Governor Frank Tancredi. He pushed Mahoney to execute escaped prisoners in the field, rather than bring them in for trial. He had Kellerman cut off and disavowed the moment he became inconvenient, then immediately ordered his death. He tortured Michael personally when he needed information. And when Lincoln and Michael finally made it to Panama and thought they were free, Kim followed them there himself, gun drawn, ready to finish the job. What makes Kim particularly deserving of his fate is the complete absence of personal stakes. He wasn't acting out of fear or desperation. He ordered murders the way a middle manager approves expense reports, efficiently without feeling, then moved on to the next item on the list. His death came in the Season 2 finale in Panama. Just as he raised his gun at Lincoln, Sarah Tancredi shot him in the chest. He fell into the water. The man who had spent an entire season ordering everyone else to pull the trigger finally faced one himself, from the woman he had spent months trying to eliminate. Wyatt Matthewson. If Kim was cold, Wyatt was something else entirely. Where Kim gave orders from a distance, Wyatt showed up in person. He was the company's highest-ranking operative in Season 4 and a former military man turned professional assassin, and he operated with a terrifying, methodical calm. Wyatt murdered James Whistler.
Les, at least let me show you.
He tracked down and killed Bruce Bennett. When he needed to draw Mahone out of hiding, he went to Mahone's home, threatened his wife, Pam, and when she refused to cooperate,
We're done talking.
he killed their son Cameron, a child, as punishment for his father's loyalty to Michael. That single act defined Wyatt completely. There was no hesitation, no remorse, no acknowledgement that what he had just done was anything other than efficient. He was the kind of man who committed atrocities and then sat down for dinner. His end was one of the most satisfying deaths in the entire series. Mahoney captured him, tortured him with a battery that electrocuted him every time his pulse dropped.
The human body, when in extreme duress, begins to shut down.
Jamming needles into his fingers, making him physically feel every second of what was coming. Then Mahone forced him to call Pam and apologize for killing their son. After that, hands encased in cinder blocks, Mahone dragged him to the harbor. Wyatt tried one last appeal. "You and I are the same, Alex." Mahone didn't even respond. He pushed him into the water mid-sentence. Paul Kellerman. Paul Kellerman spent 3 seasons being the most dangerous man in any room he walked into. He was the company's most trusted enforcer, Lincoln Burrows' shadow, and the man personally responsible for more suffering inflicted on the Scofield family than almost anyone else in the series. He drowned Sarah Tancredi in a bathtub. He tortured her with a blowtorch. He tried to kill her brother-in-law, her father, and eventually her. He was loyal to the company the way a weapon is loyal, completely without conscience, because that was what he was built for. And then they threw him away. The moment Kellerman became a liability, Vice President Reynolds cut him loose without hesitation. No warning, no severance. Just a kill order on the man who had spent years getting his hands dirty so hers could stay clean. That betrayal cracked something open in him. He flipped, he testified, he helped put Reynolds away. And for a brief, strange window in season 2, it almost looked like Paul Kellerman was going to get away clean. Walking out of a courthouse having done the one genuinely decent thing of his entire adult life, he didn't get away clean. Season 5 brought him back, and it brought him back changed. Working in the shadows on what appeared to be the right side for once. It didn't matter. An agent caught up with him before any of it could mean anything. Shot and left to die, his loose ends finally tied off by the same machinery he'd served for years.
Has to kill the truth. Which one of you's gonna die next?
Christina Scofield. For most of the series, Michael Scofield's mother was a ghost, presumed dead, grieved over, a wound that shaped both her sons without ever being present to answer for it. When Christina Rose Scofield finally appeared in season 4, the show wasted no time making clear that her absence hadn't been tragedy. It had been a choice. She hadn't died. She had simply decided that her work mattered more than her children, and she had walked away and let them believe she was gone. That alone would have been unforgivable. She didn't stop there. Christina was a company operative at the highest level, calculating, ruthless, and completely without sentimentality when it came to her own family. She manipulated Lincoln. She shot him without hesitation when he stopped being useful to her plan. She was willing to sell Scylla to foreign powers, triggering consequences that could have cost thousands of lives because the transaction served her agenda. She looked at the 2 sons she had abandoned and treated them as assets to be managed or obstacles to be removed depending on the day. She never once apologized. She never expressed regret. When she looked at Michael and Lincoln, you got the sense she was calculating, not feeling. Sarah Tancredi shot her.
But she'll die of Burroughs.
Brad Bellick. Brad Bellick started as a bully with a badge and a grudge. He was the kind of correctional officer who treated Fox River like his personal kingdom. Petty, corrupt, vindictive, and contemptible in every small way a man in that position can be. He tormented prisoners. He abused his authority. He was more interested in dominance than order, more focused on cruelty than control. When he got fired from Fox River, it felt like justice finally catching up with him. Then something strange happened. Bellick spent seasons 2 and 3 being systematically humiliated, losing everything he thought defined him, ending up as a prisoner in Sona himself, stripped of every advantage he'd built his identity around. And somewhere in that process, something shifted. He stopped being the man who made other people's lives miserable and started being something more complicated. He worked with the escape team. He pulled his weight. He stopped looking for angles and started making sacrifices. The Scylla mission is where it ended. The team needed someone to go back. The mission required it. Bellick went. He drowned in an underground tunnel, flooded and dark, completing an objective that saved the people around him. No last-minute rescue. No exception made for him.
It's not moving! Water's coming! Water's coming!
Bellick's death is the most earned redemption arc in the show, precisely because the show never let him fully off the hook for what he was. He died doing something genuinely good. That's more than Brad Bellick ever looked capable of in season 1. Whether it cancels out everything that came before is a question the show is smart enough not to answer for you. Don Self. Don Self was introduced as the government handler the team had no choice but to trust. A Homeland Security agent who recruited Michael and Lincoln with the promise of full pardons in exchange for retrieving Scylla. He was authoritative, competent, and apparently legitimate. The kind of official presence that makes you feel like there are rules and someone is enforcing them. It was a performance. Self had been planning his own play from the beginning. The moment the team delivered Scylla, he took it and ran, double-crossing everyone who had risked their lives to hand it to him, planning to auction it off to the highest bidder for his own personal exit from a life he'd apparently decided he was owed more from. Every promise he'd made was leverage. Every relationship he'd built was a tool. He looked at a group of people who had put everything on the line trusting him, and he took the money and didn't look back. What made the betrayal particularly ugly was the timing. These were people who had been burned by institutions, by handlers, by official promises over and over again. Self was supposed to be different. He wasn't. Miriam Holtz shot him in the chest. He survived barely, and spent the remainder of the series in a vegetative state, which depending on your perspective is either worse than death or a mercy he didn't earn. The man who betrayed everyone he worked with ended up staring at a ceiling, completely powerless, reduced to exactly the kind of helplessness he had spent his career exploiting in others. Don Self wanted to win. He ended up as a cautionary footnote. These are the most deserved deaths in Prison Break. Who would you have added? I read you in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, leave like and subscribe. See you in the next one.